Muso games, such as Dynasty Warriors, have gotten a hefty share of criticism over the years for being derivative and mindless. While there's certainly truth to that criticism, blanket statements have made many wary of the entire genre. The sentiment also applies to Muso spin-offs of popular franchises, such as Gundam and One Piece. Yet Dragon Quest Heroes defies expectation. It takes elements of the Muso genre and expertly blends them with one of the longest-running RPG series. There's a clear love of all things Dragon Quest present in nearly every facet, giving the game more detail and character than you might expect. One of the most interesting things about Heroes is that although it shares many similarities with other Muso games, it often plays like an action RPG. On any given level, you have to slice, bludgeon, and blast your way through hundreds of enemies, but it also has plenty of larger brutes that require a lot more effort to defeat. Finding and exploiting weaknesses is vital, so that means if you're up against a mechanical enemy, for instance, it's best to use electric spells to immobilize them. Additionally, many foes can wipe a character out in just a few swings, so players must properly dodge and block, which is especially true during the intimate boss fights. These battles often require pattern memorization, use of certain tools, or they tax you in unexpected ways, such as making you face off against a giant manticore as two streams of fire spew from both sides of the battlefield. The different approach to combat gives Dragon Quest its own distinct flavor.
Come on, we have to protect the Oracle.
Also keeping things varied are the 12 different playable characters, all of which play very differently from each other, except for the two main protagonists. Maya, the sultry dancer, brandishes twin fans that ignite during certain attacks. After chaining more than 100 hits together, she can float, enabling lengthy aerial assaults. The mechanic encourages players to avoid damage as much as possible, while also keeping the pressure on. As characters earn experience and level up, you can invest in new abilities, modifying them even further. Because you acquire new team members and levels regularly, there's usually plenty to play around with. Since certain characters and spells work better in some situations than others, constantly tinkering with your method is one of the game's most enjoyable aspects.
No wonder you're the head of the Institute of Ingenuity.
Monster medals add yet another twist to combat. Introduced early on, large medals often drop from defeated enemies. Once acquired, the activated medal summons the beast on the battlefield. Different monsters have different effects. Some act as sentries, defending the immediate area around them. Others perform one big attack or buff up the party. It's another thing to experiment with and optimize over time. Knowing when to deploy monsters is critical and can mean the difference between completing a mission successfully or dismally failing, since quests are usually based on tower defense. The idea is that the monsters protect a point of interest while you dart around the map eliminating enemies. It's an effective approach, but unfortunately, it's woefully underused. Quests mainly fall into two categories: protect something and kill everything, or just kill everything. Considering Dragon Quest Heroes excels in so many other areas and shows more ambitious ideas during its boss fights, it's disappointing that the majority of tasks adhere to such an unimaginative mold. There are other smaller annoyances as well. Despite the Stone Cloud, your central hub, looking impressive and exceptionally detailed, it takes too long to do things within it. Accepting multiple quests and refilling healing items requires scrolling through dialogue and watching needless animations. It's also puzzling that the game only lets you accept 8 side quests at once, since it offers dozens of them and many of the quests need random drops to complete. During battles, especially later ones, the screen gets cluttered and the camera doesn't do a great job of keeping track of the action. One of the most unforgivable sins, though, is the lack of any cooperative multiplayer. Nearly every other game in the genre gives the option for players to team up, and seemingly the only reason it's absent here is to save it for the sequel.
Take this, Magic Pass!
Thankfully, an abundance of charm and an excellent localization greatly lessen the sting of these issues. The story itself is as by the numbers as it gets. Chosen warriors of light fight against the darkness. Yet the characters surrounding the events are so lively that they end up saving a campaign that would otherwise be a total bore. Alina, who originally appeared in Dragon Quest IV, throws herself into battle with a smile and a cheer, unafraid of the mightiest foes. Even the two main characters have plenty of playful banter between them. Lucius is always concocting an elaborate plan, and Aurora never fails to roll her eyes and hurry him along. Easily the best character is Helix, a chipper slime that tries to summon as much courage as possible to help his friends.
You all right, Bluey? You don't look like you're hurt anyway. I was worried I squashed you.
Above all, Dragon Quest Heroes perfectly captures one of the most essential parts of the series, that it prides itself on joy. It's a quality that overshadows its shortcomings. Too many JRPGs are overly serious and shove the same tropes down your throat again and again. The levity and unabashed enthusiasm of Dragon Quest creates a childlike wonder that's still enchanting more than 25 years after the original game.
And the streets resounded with the happy cries of man and monster alike.